It was Winston Churchill who galvanized the Western world by putting his words into practice. In spite of the horrors and bombing in London, Mr. Churchill sustained the mood of victory, and even in the darkest days, he would not waver. Knowing the mood would externalize itself around the world, he sustained the mood, while his opponents, not knowing the law, put their trust in armies and machinery of war. Mr. Churchill's wonderful statement, recorded in the New York Times, has proved itself to me. By simply catching the mood, I have changed the circumstances of my life. We contain that light, and nature, the genie, is our slave, fashioning the world as our mood dictates. By nature, I mean all humanity, the animal, plant, and mineral world. In fact, everything that appears on the outside is a slave of this lamp, for everything reflects it. It is your mood which decides your fortune, not your fortune that decides your mood. Neville Goddard, The Game of Life, presented by Wisdom Untold. The game of life, like every game, is played within the framework of certain rules, and any violation of those rules carries a penalty. You and I are playing this game from morning to night, and should therefore learn its rules in order to play it well. The Ecclesiastes gives us this rule: even in your thought, do not curse the king, or in your bedchamber curse the rich, for a bird will carry your voice, or some winged creature tell the matter. And Mark gives us another: as whatever you desire, believe that you have received it, and you will. If you must believe you have received your desire in order to attain it, then you must start your game by believing it is finished. You must feel yourself into and partaking of your goal, and you must persist in that feeling in order to achieve it. Now, another rule is said in this manner: cast your bread upon the water, and you will find it after many days. In other words, do not be concerned as to how it is going to happen. Just do it. This statement has nothing to do with the doing good as the world defines the word. Jesus was a carpenter. The word means one who produces from seed, as a flower, a tree, the earth. The prophecy of the Old Testament is the seed which a carpenter called Jesus brings to birth. He comes not to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them. The word bread in the statement, cast your bread upon the water, means to devour, to consume. Water is a euphemism for semen, that living water which carries the sperm of man. The creative act is psychological, not physical. Yet the intentions are the same. You must cast your bread upon the waters with passion. You must be consumed with the desire, and literally on fire with love for its possession. For an intense imaginal act will always draw unto itself its own affinity. Winston Churchill departed this world a very successful man. However, during his life he had many failures. Then one day he made this discovery which changed his life. These are his words: the mood decides the fortunes of people rather than the fortunes decide the mood. Let me put it this way: the game of life is won by those who compare their thoughts and feelings within to what appears on the outside, and the game is lost by those who do not recognize this law. Being consumed by anger, they see no change in their world. But if they would change their mood, their circumstances would change. Then they would recognize the law behind their will. There are those who are depressed all day long and remain that way all of their life. I remember back in New York City, when I would see certain people walking in my direction, I would want to cross the street because I did not want to hear their depressing story. They would spend hours telling about their wife or husband, their children or grandchildren, and each story geared to depression, never changing their mood, their world never changed. Seeing no change, they would not recognize the law between the inner world they maintain and the outer world of response. But if you apply this law, you can predict your future. Feel a new mood rise within you. Sustain it, and soon you will meet people who embody this new state. Even inanimate objects are under the sway of these affinities. In a certain mood, I have gone to my library and removed a book I have not touched in years. And when I casually open it, I find confirmation of my mood. A table, though remaining the same, will be seen differently based upon your momentary mood, for everything reflects it. It is your mood which decides your fortune, not your fortune that decides your mood. People feeling poor attract poverty, not knowing that if they felt rich, they would attract wealth. In the book of Proverbs, it is said, "The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord." Now the lamp of the Lord is the light of the world. We contain that light, and nature, the genie, is our slave, fashioning the world as our mood dictates. By nature, I mean all humanity, the animal, plant, and mineral world. In fact, everything that appears on the outside is a slave of this lamp, fashioned from within. This slave will fashion your world to reflect your thoughts, and no power can stop their fulfillment. Become aware of what you are thinking, and you will recognize the law between your mood and your surrounding circumstances. Then you will predict with certainty, because you know certain events being in harmony with your mood must appear. Everything, whether a living being or an inanimate object such as a book, must appear to bear witness to your mood. Now, in order to play the game of life, you must know what you want to replace what you have. When you know what it is, you must assume the feeling that you have it, although your reason and senses will deny its existence. Persistence will cause your assumption to harden into fact and objectify itself upon your screen of space. Play the game this way. You may think it doesn't work, but that's because you have not tried it. You may believe the idea is stupid, but I tell you, the mood decides your fortune. Believe me, for I have proved this principle over and over again in my life. It was Winston Churchill who galvanized the Western world by putting his words into practice. In spite of the horrors and bombing in London, Mr. Churchill sustained the mood of victory, and even in the darkest days, he would not waver. Knowing the mood would externalize itself around the world, he sustained the mood, while his opponents, not knowing the law, put their trust in armies and machinery of war. Mr. Churchill's wonderful statement, recorded in the New York Times, has proved itself to me. By simply catching the mood, I have changed the circumstances of my life. Now I teach others how to do it. I invite you to ask yourself how you would feel if your desire was now fulfilled. Toy with the thought. Pray with it a while, and the mood will come upon you. Keep that mood by playing with the senses it evokes, and watch your world change to match your new mood. Let me tell you of a lady I know who, in her middle 60s, had nothing when she put this principle into practice. Every morning as she soaked in the tub prior to going to her $75 a week job, she would say to herself, "Something wonderful is happening to me now." She kept playing upon the mood, toying with the feeling that something wonderful was happening. That very week she received her first breakthrough. For 30-odd years, this lady had attended the opera, concerts and Broadway shows with an intimate friend. Every night they dined in some fabulous restaurant, but he had told her many times he would never give her any money. But he suddenly had a change of heart and signed over a $100,000 trust fund to her, to be spent immediately as she so desired. A short time later, she began to apply the law to a greater degree, and he again set up another $100,000 fund for her. Now, this lady, whose rent is $165 per month, can spend the income she receives from a $200,000 fund plus her Social Security. But she isn't satisfied and wants more. The old gentleman has a little hard-needed brain now, and they're parted company. And because he refuses to see her, she curses him, though we are warned. Even in your thoughts, do not curse the king, or in your bedchamber, do not curse the rich. For a bird of the air will carry your voice, or some winged creature tell the matter. This lady calls me every week to tell me she is overcoming the cursing. I hope so, because other things can come into her world if she continues to do so. The law has its positive as well as its negative side. I am not here to judge how you use the law, but leave you to practice it as you will. If you are in the habit of thinking negatively, you are not going to sustain the thought that you are all you want to be. You may hold it for a few seconds, and if it does not prove itself instantly, you may deny it. But in order to play the game of life, you must know the rules and apply them. And remember, as in every game, there are rules whose violation causes failure. You cannot deceive yourself, for God is not mocked. As you sow, so shall you reap in the world. You may get away with a violation that the referee did not see, but you cannot get away from the observer in you, for he and you are one. If you know what you did, then he knows, for your awareness and the Father of your world are one. You cannot deceive yourself. You cannot mock yourself. God is going to record your every violation and mold your world in harmony with your feelings. Let me now share a letter I received from a friend.